Do you believe in ghosts? Welcome back to Paranormal Experience. I'm Melissa.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm Kelly.
And today Mandy's going to tell us about
urban legends.
All right, let's get into it.
Has anyone ever heard a story that starts out with, my sister's friend's cousin had a girlfriend who...
I'm sure I have.
I think we've all heard that at some point in our lives, like particularly at slumber parties and, campfires and stuff like that. If so, then you have been told an urban legend. An urban legend, according to the dictionary, is a fictional tale that is passed on from one person to another. It's told as truth, however, it cannot be verified. By claiming personal knowledge, the story seems more like a real-life account. Even though the stories are unique, they all share several components that categorize them as urban legends. They originate in densely populated areas, change with each telling, and contain just a kernel of truth. They usually involve the paranormal or unexplainable, teach us a warning or a lesson, and show insight into society's fears and beliefs. Oral tradition is the first and still is the most widespread form of human communication, according to John Miles Foley, contributor for Encyclopedia Britannica.
Now wait, can I interject?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you guys ever hear that when you were young? Like, people would say, like, you would get somebody would get a phone call, and then it'd be like, I'm bloody fingers. Oh, no, that's a joke. That's not an urban legend. That's a joke. Like, I'm bloody fingers, and I'm 5 doors away. And then the phone rings again, and it's like, I'm bloody fingers, and I'm 4 doors away. And then finally, it's so stupid. I'm just now remembering the whole thing. When you get to, when they get to your house, it's like, oh, I'm bloody fingers. Do you have a Band-Aid? It's so stupid.
I don't remember that.
I don't either, no.
No.
See, the only thing I remember about that is there was a movie called Who's Calling or something like that. And it was the girl babysitting.
Yes, and we talk about that here.
Oh, okay. Then I will stop right there.
Oh, I mean, you don't have to, but yes. I think it was called When a Stranger Calls.
Yes, that's it.
Oh,
that's
yeah. Okay.
People have used word of mouth to share culture, stories of heroes, tales, myths, legends, and warnings. It dispersed through the population and new lines of communication were created. It wasn't until later in the 20th century that the term urban legend appeared in folklore studies, but it was popularized in 1981 with the publication of the book The Vanishing Hitchhiker, American Urban Legends and Their Meanings by Jan Harold Brunvand. Brunvand sparked new interest in urban legends, and once again, people were telling campfire stories and slumber party tales. Have you guys, I know you've heard of it, but do you know the legend of Candyman? You know the movie, probably.
I do know the legend of Candyman because of true crime. But anyway.
Okay. So the story, the legend, goes that if you stand in front of a mirror and say Candyman 5 times, you will summon a vengeful spirit that will kill you. Candyman, as we know him in the movie, is not an urban legend, but the character is based on a short story by Clive Barker called The Forbidden. In this story, Candyman was a slave during the 19th century who fell in love with a white woman. As punishment, he was brutally murdered by a lynch mob. His body was smeared with honey that attracted a swarm of bees that caused his death.
Ooh.
Kind of reminded me of, what was that lady that used to put the honey on the...
Elizabeth Bathory?
Elizabeth Bathory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she would do that to...
Women's nipples.
Yeah.
And
let
set
the ants
free.
get them. Yeah.
It's said anyway.
Mm-hmm. The connection between Candyman and the mirror stems from his grotesque appearance. His face is mutilated, and he has a large, gaping hole where his mouth should be. This legend is rooted in fact based on racial discrimination and law enforcement's history of neglect towards black communities. The real story behind the legend involves Ruthie Mae McCoy.
I was just going to say, this is the story that I was like,
Right.
because this is the story that I know.
Yeah.
She was an African-American woman with mental health issues. In 1983, she was moved to public housing in Chicago. Due to neglect and poor management, crime rates skyrocketed in her neighborhood. In 1983, McCoy called 911 and claimed that someone was trying to break into her apartment through her medicine cabinet. I remember the first time I heard that. That's so scary.
Yeah. And have you ever seen, like, on TikTok or whatever, like, people will take out their medicine cabinets in apartments and stuff?
Yeah.
And it's open to the other apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. The dispatchers ignored the call until neighbors alerted 911 that there were loud noises coming from McCoy's apartment. When law enforcement finally arrived, Ruthie had already died due to several gunshot wounds. The intruders entered her apartment by crawling through her medicine cabinet via a false wall that was put there on purpose to make plumbing more accessible. Years later, it was found that negligence occurred due to McCoy being a Black mentally ill woman.
It's so sad.
Mm-hmm. It is. That probably wouldn't have happened if she would have been in a different neighborhood or been a different race, unfortunately.
Right.
This one goes with what you were talking about earlier. The killer is calling from inside the house. This story has been making its rounds since the 1960s. It involves a babysitter who, after putting the kids to bed upstairs, keeps receiving prank phone calls at night while she's watching TV.
And it's Drew Barrymore.
No, that's in Scream.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, I know, but isn't it this the same thing though, right? I mean, he was outside, but she was receiving.
I guess it could be based on it.
Yeah.
I never really connected it though. Like,
Yeah.
The unknown caller tells her to check the children. She ignores the call, but the caller dials again several times. And each time he calls, she gets a little bit more scared. She calls the police, and when they trace the call, they tell her to leave immediately. The call is coming from
inside the house.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Well, when that movie was real big, like maybe late 70s,
Mm-hmm.
I used to babysit. And
Did it scare you?
Well, the movie didn't, but when I was babysitting, somebody decided to call me and do that to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
The phone used to be terrifying, right? Because
you didn't know who was
calling. Like now everybody knows who's calling.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't answer if you don't know who's calling.
Right.
But then you had to answer the phone because you didn't know if it was somebody you knew or didn't know.
Right.
And I feel like people like calling and just breathing into the receiver
was
like
terrifying.
Yeah, and they did it all the time. Like, haven't you both answered the phone like multiple times when you were young and people were just breathing
Mm-hmm.
heavy into the receiver?
Well, it was horrible when I was in college because we lived in the dorms. And back then they had actual phones in the rooms because, you know, cell phones weren't a thing yet. Dating myself. But anyway, but the numbers for the dorm rooms, and we were in an all-girls dorm, just went up in increments of 1. So if you dialed 1, 2, 3, 4, then you could dial 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, and it would just ring the next room.
I see.
And you could hear them, like they would call in the middle of the night. So you'd hear the phone a couple ways down.
You would know
and
it was
get
coming.
closer and closer and
That's
closer.
kind of creepy.
It's very creepy. And then we got whistles. So that was the best part. So I was just waiting for them to call. Because then I'd blow my whistle.
in their ear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I wish I would have done that to the heavy breathers that used to call my house. That was a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
that's funny. When she hears that the call is coming from inside the house, the babysitter runs upstairs to the children's room and finds them hacked to pieces.
Ew.
The prowler was calling her after he killed the children upstairs. Now, there are other versions of this story. Sometimes the caller is just one of the kids pranking her. Sometimes the babysitter gets killed. And sometimes the babysitter rescues the kids and the caller is arrested. In some stories, if the caller is arrested, when the police are taking him away, he sees the babysitter and he whispers, "See you soon," as he walks by her. The exact origin of the story is unknown. However, the unsolved murder of a 13-year-old girl named Janet Chrisman in 1950 may have been an influence. Janet was sexually assaulted and killed by an intruder while babysitting in Columbia, Missouri. Janet called the police screaming for help, but they didn't know the address of her location. When the parents of the boy she was babysitting came home, the porch light was on and the front door was unlocked, implying that Janet had let her attacker in. A window on the side of the house was broken with a garden hose stored inside the house. Police suspected 27-year-old Robert Mueller. He was a friend of the family of the little boy that Janet was watching, but he was never charged. A babysitter being alone in a strange house was a relatable fear for most young women at that time.
So she would have let him in because he was a family friend.
The main message of babysitting urban legend is that girls alone are always in danger. Girls are helpless victims that need protected. That's kind of what the basis of that always is, right? It's warning us, warning us, warning us. This next one, I remember hearing this one at a slumber party. Humans can lick too.
Gross.
No.
This one also has several versions and is at least 146 years old.
Wow.
A young girl or nearsighted woman is alone with her dog and scared of a local serial killer. She wakes in the night to hear a dripping sound coming from the bathroom. She's too scared to get out of bed to find out what it is. To reassure herself, she reaches her hand toward the floor and feels a lick on her hand. She's happy that her trusty friend is with her, so she just pets her dog and lets it lick her hand.
Ew.
In the morning, when she goes to the bathroom, the dog is found dead, hanging in the shower, with its blood slowly dripping on the tiles. On the shower wall, written in the dog's blood, are the words, "Humans can lick too."
You know what's creepy about that? The new puppy licks all of our feet all the time. It's like awful because like
While you're
it
sleeping?
tickles, and
Does it go while you're
especially if I'm laying in
So
bed,
you don't know if
she
it's
will
the
come
puppy.
up and lick my feet while I'm trying to sleep.
Now you're going to think of that. All right, so there are other variations. In some of them, it's an old woman instead of a young girl. And sometimes the message is written on the floor or the mirror instead of the tile. The story usually ends with the killer never being found. And this tale has origins as far back as 1821, when in England a jewel thief hid under a bed and licked the hand of the homeowner so they wouldn't get up to investigate.
Like, so they would think it was a dog?
Well, I feel like, again, like with all urban legends, like there's not, if you really dissect it, you kind of can't really make a whole lot of sense out of it.
Well, and then the first instance, if he's a serial killer, what is he, a serial killer of dogs? Because obviously he left her alive.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. And then, like, jewel thief,
it has to be like that there was a dog and they wanted, but I mean, because if you didn't have a dog and somebody was licking your hand, you would definitely get up to investigate.
Well, but we don't know, right? Because, like, this legend back in 1821 where the jewel thief hid under the bed, it doesn't say that, like, the homeowner thought it was a dog. I mean, it doesn't not say that, but...
What else would you have under your bed licking?
But, like, would that person be too afraid to get up? You know?
Something was licking my hand.
I would too, but do you
Run the
think
hell
that
out of
there
there.
would be some people that might be too afraid to get out of the bed?
Maybe, I don't know.
So maybe they would think it's...
I mean, eventually one of them's got to leave the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a standoff, a very licky standoff.
Your hand would be all gross and stinky.
Especially back then. You know, oral hygiene just wasn't what it is now.
Well, then, okay, so yeah, right. So probably hygiene in general. So not only was their mouth gross, they were probably licking a gross hand.
Ew.
Ew.
That's how plagues were spread.
That is the legend. Plagues are spread. So here's another one that I specifically remember hearing in grade school. I don't remember if it was just a summer party tale or if we were just telling stories, but I remember this one too. The killer in the back seat.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah.
I've heard this.
So this story involves a woman driver who is driving home from work at night. She stops at a gas station to grab a coffee, fill up her tank, and resumes her drive home. A minute later, she sees a car coming up behind her, flashing its headlights and swerving. She's afraid. She speeds up to lose the vehicle, but the car keeps up with her and it turns on its high beams. Now she's speeding up. She's searching for a place to stop for help, but she doesn't see any house or stores. The car keeps harassing her, and finally it rams her rear bumper. She's too afraid to stop, so she just floors it, and she's able to turn into a well-lit city road, and she no longer sees the car that's following her. She drives home, and when she gets out, she rushes inside and looks out the window. The car that had been following her is pulling into her driveway. A man exits the vehicle and yells through the window, "Call the police." The woman just stares at him, confused and scared. He keeps waving his arms and yelling, "Call the police." Suddenly, the back door of her car opens up. A man jumps out with an axe and chops up the man yelling at her to call the police. This one also has several versions. I myself have never heard that version of it.
Yeah. Me either. I've never heard where the man jumps out and hacks the man yelling, "Call the police" to pieces.
I had never heard that version either, but I wanted to kind of make that the main focus because I thought it was different. Another version is the one we probably are more familiar with. The woman finds the killer in her backseat while she's driving. Sometimes she stops at a gas station and the attendant asks her to come inside to fix an issue with her credit card. She goes inside and the attendant warns her of the man that has gotten into her back seat. This story has been around as early as the late 1960s. The legend may have been inspired by a similar case that took place in 1964 when an escaped murderer was shot while hiding in the backseat of a car that happened to belong to a police detective.
I didn't get it in, but I wanted to make your joke. We have a couple of podcasts where you have made the joke about like the different time eras. And so you said that and I thought of like people in horse and buggies.
Yes, I have. I've always made my dumb 80s and 70s jokes. Yes, so you are correct. And they jumped in the back of the buggy. This whole urban legend is often told with a moral. The attendant or the driver trying to get the woman's attention is someone the woman distrusts for no reason. She assumes these people want to do her harm when they are actually trying to save her. This is a cautionary tale teaching us to be vigilant of our surroundings. Once again, the woman is the helpless victim, and men are either looking to harm her or save her.
I don't know. In the 1960s, though, that kind of coincides with Jeffrey Dahmer.
I feel like that was like the big serial killer influx, right? It was like the 60s and the 70s.
Because he was the very first one they identified as actual serial killer. And, you know, he went after women, throwed them in the car, whatever.
Jeffrey Dahmer?
Is that who I'm thinking of?
No. Yeah, that's not right for him. He killed men.
Ted Bundy. I'm thinking of Ted Bundy.
You are thinking of Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Jeffrey Dahmer ate men.
Yeah, he ate men. No.
Yeah.
Scratch all that.
That's
Scratch
okay.
all that. I'm talking about Ted Bundy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I just watched like a docu-series about him.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, until him, they had never really
Coined that term.
Coined serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think he did do some of his killings in the 60s, but it wasn't really like...
I think it was like 1964 they first were aware of it. But in the...
Right, that there was like a serial murderer?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like they pegged him for like 32 murders. But later, when he was in prison on death row, like a couple of people were interviewing him for a book. And he basically said it would be in the triple digits.
I think they all do that. I think that they want to make themselves seem so much worse than they are because they think it makes them seem smart or something. Because every single serial killer, you know, there's always, oh, they got him for this many, but they claim.
I mean, at that point, what has he got to lose? So he can make himself as infamous as he wants to
right.
be. But he was smart, though.
He was smart.
He was very smart. He got away twice.
Yep.
Escaped. He got
twice. Right, because he was a young, good-looking, well-educated person, and they're like, oh, he couldn't be a
He
killer.
literally
Yeah.
escaped from court.
Yeah. In the courthouse, yeah. And once from the prison. Or jail. It wasn't a prison, but yeah.
Do you guys remember, going back to the 70s again, do you guys remember the Life cereal commercials with Mikey?
I do.
Yeah.
So there was an urban legend about Mikey. Do you guys remember that one?
No, but I just want to say I love Life cereal to this day. But anyway, go ahead.
I like the cinnamon life. Okay, so in the 1970s, there was a rumor that Mikey, played by actor John Gilchrist, ate Pop Rocks and drank Coke. And this deadly combination caused his stomach to explode and killed him. You probably heard that urban legend.
I heard that
You
urban
might
legend,
not
but I
know
didn't
who-
know it was
Didn't
Mikey.
know it was connected
Yeah.
to Mikey.
Mhm.
That's just like the did the kids ever when you guys were young mix orange juice and milk? Like at lunch when we were young, the kids would mix orange juice and milk, and they would claim like if you drank it, it would kill you.
I would just throw up.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear that one. I heard about Mentos, like giving Mentos to seagulls or something. That would make their bellies explode. I don't know if that's
I
true.
thought that was like Alka-Seltzer.
Yeah, Alka-Seltzer, and I think that it is true.
Well, I could kind of see Alka-Seltzer.
Mm-hmm.
Mentos, you need Coke to make it explode.
You know, nobody listening will care about this, but my 4-year-old granddaughter, or she just turned 5, I was in line with her and she saw Mentos and she said, Grandma, if you put Mentos in pop, will it explode? And I said, yeah. And I'm like, how do you know that? Anyway,
But will it? Why'd you say
it
that?
will explode, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you try it?
I have done it, yeah. I did it with the kids when,
Okay.
not her, but I did it with
So she knows too.
my kids.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, so I don't know how
didn't
she
think that was
knows.
real either. Okay.
No, it is. Yeah, you just drop it in and it immediately like makes like a fountain. Mhm.
Scary. I'm gonna try it.
Try it outside.
Outside. Do it outside.
Another variation of this story claimed that his head exploded, or specified the precise number of Pop Rocks and Cokes involved, 6 each. So you had to have 6 packs of Pop Rocks and 6 Cokes.
Well, anybody would explode after all
I
that.
don't think so, yeah. At least your bladder. wants to pop. But despite how it happened, all of America was talking about how the poor kid died tragically. The rumor was so big that Gilchrist's mother received a phone call from a stranger wailing, "I'm so sorry to hear about your son."
Oh my God, people are weird.
This story was so widely believed that it actually hurt the sale of Pop Rocks, which discontinued in 1982. Parents refused to let their kids eat the fizzy candy and flooded the headquarters of General Foods, the company behind Pop Rocks. General Foods,
So they stopped Pop Rocks altogether in 82.
for a while, yes. We'll get back to when they came back. But yes, they stopped them.
I was going to say, I just got some in my stocking for Christmas.
No,
so.
they are back.
Yeah.
But they were gone for a short time. General Foods begged the parents of Mikey to film a commercial letting people know that he was still alive. But they did not want to. The reason is that they didn't want their child to be associated with a negative story. So they were just kind of hoping it would go away. So even though Mikey is fine, the candy, which was the first of its kind, had an accidental lab experiment. So, did you know that people that experiment with candy are called confectionery chemists?
No, but that's cute.
I want that job.
Well, maybe not, because the ones that worked on this candy lost fingers while making the candy.
Making Pop Rocks?
Because the candy is pressurized. Workers had to stir carbon dioxide injected molten sugar with boat-like propellers in giant vessels.
Wow.
Scalding hot liquid sugar threatened to blow up in the faces of the workers. They had to wear gear that looked like a moon suit in order to avoid burns.
Oh my God.
The
I bet you they didn't get paid a lot either.
No, probably not. The bubbling potion was cooled and dried inside tubes, where they were then whacked with a 9-pound sledgehammer to break the candy into tiny pieces.
Oh my God.
They were working with 300-degree molten candy and 600 pounds of pressure. Powerful enough to blow out the sides of a truck. But not to worry. Even though Pop Rocks were discontinued briefly in the early 80s, they came back in 1985. And yes, Kelly, you can still get them today in your stocking.
Because Pop Rocks are too cool to be...
See, too bad we didn't have any. We could do it on the microphone right now.
We could totally do it. Here's another one that I think people really think is real. We hear about it every fall. Laced Halloween candy.
Oh, yeah.
This one's been a fear for a long time, that some deranged person passing out candy to trick-or-treaters puts a razor blade or poison into the Halloween candy.
Or drugs.
Yeah, today they say drugs. Yeah, it's more popular
as if people
today.
Are spending
Giving
their money
away
on
their-
drugs just to
their
give them
hard-earned
away.
Right.
Yeah. These myths serve as a cautionary tale to both children and parents. These became prevalent in the 1960s and 70s. This was a time of social upheaval, greater racial integration, and improved status for women. These status changes caused people to question who is trustworthy, which I kind of feel like is happening now.
But there is a real story.
There is.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Today, these fears have led to alternative trick-or-treating events held at churches, police, fire stations, community centers, and retail stores. So now, like, we do the trunk or treat. And
Right,
stuff
which
like that.
sucks. I liked traditional trick-or-treating.
Me too.
But...
When it would last until late. And
Yeah.
This myth also promoted the sale of individually wrapped candy and discouraged people from giving homemade treats to children.
Oh, which is totally valid.
I remember getting, like, homemade popcorn balls.
Yeah. Those
Yeah.
went right in the
Now and
garbage.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went right in the garbage.
Cookies.
Yeah, don't.
No.
I mean, and it wasn't even necessarily that we thought it was poison. It's just like,
You don't know
don't
what
know
that
what
person's
people's-
house is like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite the yearly panic, there's been only one time that a child was poisoned by Halloween candy. And the dad did it. In Houston in 1974, Ronald Clark O'Brien, later dubbed the Candyman, not to be confused with the Candyman from earlier.
Other Candyman.
He laced his 8-year-old son Timothy's candy with cyanide to collect the child's $31,000 life insurance policy.
So I always thought that caused the rumors, but it's opposite. Like, the urban legend was first, and then he did it based on the urban legend, right? Like, that's what gave him the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was opposite. I see.
Yeah. But it's never been true except for this one time.
Right.
It was a cold, damp Halloween night. O'Brien had a raincoat on and hid pixie sticks in the sleeves. O'Brien gave a cyanide-laced pixie sticks to his son and then distributed poison candy to at least 4 other children, including his own daughter, hoping to create the impression that a stranger was the culprit. Only Timothy asked to eat a pixie stick first. After eating the poisoned candy, the boy claimed that it didn't taste right. An hour later, he was dead. None of the other children had eaten theirs. O'Brien claimed to get the pixie sticks from a neighboring home. Detectives discovered an adding machine tape with all of his bills written next to the numbers. It came out to almost the amount of the life insurance policy that he stood to collect. At trial, it was found that O'Brien had opened the sticks.
So, like an old adding machine, God, with the roll of receipt tape in it?
Yes.
Oh, my God. I haven't thought about one of those in forever.
I know. I used to have one at
I
work
used to
a long time ago.
We used to have one at home. My mom would make me use that thing all the
Do you hear the
time.
sound of it in your
Yes, I do hear the sound of it.
At the trial, it was found that O'Brien had opened the sticks, added cyanide, and stapled it back shut. He maintained his innocence, but it took a jury less than an hour to convict him. He was executed 10 years later after his son's death on March 31st, 1984. Here's another one that we're familiar with, Bloody Mary.
Ooh, yes.
Did you play that?
Of course I've played it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They actually did it.
When we were young, yeah.
Did you see anything?
No.
No, me either. Did you?
No.
No. I remember everybody being so scared to do that. For Bloody Mary, one of the versions is you light a candle in the bathroom with the lights out late at night, look in the mirror, and 3 times in a row say, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary,
Bloody Mary.
Will you be found dead with your eyes scratched out? Or claw marks all over your body? Or will you be trapped behind the mirror for eternity?
Mm.
In the 1800s, there was a young girl named Mary. There was an illness that swept through the town where she lived that caused people to drop dead. They're very specific on that illness. Just
dropped dead.
When doctors couldn't find a pulse, they would put a mirror under the person's nose to check for condensation from their breath to see if they were dead. However, people that were seemingly dead were not always dead. This was so common that it led to people putting a small hole in the coffin, put a piece of string on it, and attach a bell. And I think we've heard about that before.
Yeah, I wonder how they knew that it was so common. Like, how often were they digging people up and finding, like, that they were trying to get out?
That's a good point. Yeah, how would they know unless they dug them up?
Or maybe, like, they'd get ready to bury them. And then, you know, like, they were in the coffin but not in the ground yet. And then they'd wake up.
Oh, that's a good point.
True.
You still hear about that a little bit today.
Yeah.
Like, once in a great while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mostly it's in other countries. I think South America, there's been a few stories about it.
My mom, I have clear instructions on making sure she's absolutely dead before they bury her. It's like her fear. She's like, just like to wait. Like, don't let them do anything to her. Or if she's in a coma, like, I have to still wait. Like, I can't, like, let her go. Like, she wants me to be absolutely sure that she's dead. It is my job.
You gonna poke her? Like, what are you gonna do?
Well, she just wants me to just wait an appropriate amount of time. Like, I have to make the decision as to what that is. But she doesn't want me to be hasty with, like, her burial or, like, the processes beforehand.
The bell would hang on a stick by the homes of the deceased. Now, I've never heard that part before. So, this is just my own thought. This must have been a time maybe when people were buried, like, on their property.
Like family
burial grounds.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that
they're going to pull a bell and it's going to go that far.
Like a string. So that was my own conclusion when I read that. That's what I envisioned. If the person in the coffin woke up, they would pull the string, the bell would ring, and then they would be dug up. So Mary caught the illness that was sweeping the town, and people thought she was dead. Her parents allowed her to be put in her coffin with the bell and the string, but they would not allow the dirt to be shoveled on top of her. They hoped that she would wake up, so they just wanted to give it time before they actually put the dirt on top. They never left the house. They just waited and waited, and after a week, some of her parents' friends told them that if she's not awake by now, she's not going to wake up. So that day, they left the house with their friends. While the parents were gone, a neighbor began to fill in Mary's grave. I'm assuming he was thinking he was being helpful. But soon after, Mary awoke and she pulled the string. The bell couldn't be heard because her parents were out and the neighbors lived too far away. She pulled the string so much that the bell and the stick both fell. She clawed and scratched at the wooden coffin until her fingers bled.
Oh.
It would hurt, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
When her parents came home, they saw the bell was yards away from its original location, and they ran to dig up their daughter. When they opened the coffin, they found Mary with a petrified look on her face, and her hands looked like bloody claws. Her white dress she was buried in was covered in blood. They put a mirror up to her nose to see if her breath would show, and it didn't, because now she really was dead. Her spirit is said to have attached to the mirror, and whenever someone calls Bloody Mary 3 times, she comes and claws at the victim. Other people believe that Bloody Mary is based on a witch during the Salem witch trials, named Mary Worth. People believe she was a witch because she lived in the forest alone in a small cabin.
Which is where I want to live.
I know, right? She was known around the village for selling herbal remedies. As we sit here with Melissa's herbs growing on the table.
My Jeff actually was calling me, and I'm not Wiccan, but he was calling me the Wiccan Witch of Westgate.
I like it. Small girls began to go missing, and the village looked everywhere for them. A few men decided to go to Mary's cabin to look for the girls. And although Mary denied having knowledge of the girls' whereabouts, the families were suspicious. The villagers stated that Mary's elderly appearance was starting to appear more youthful. Mary was seen practicing dark magic and torturing and killing slaves during her rituals. A farmer shot her in the hip, and she was tied to a stake, and a bonfire was lit. As she was burning, she said a curse on the villagers and told them...
should have.
Yes. And told them that if they dared to utter her name, even in a mirror, she would be back for them. But here's the part that does make her look a little bit guilty if this is true. When the villagers with the missing children returned to Mary's house to search for their daughters, they saw rows of unmarked graves.
Oh.
Yikes.
So it was believed that Mary was using the blood of their daughters to make her look more youthful. Some believe Bloody Mary is Mary Tudor, Mary I of England, who put many Protestants to death. She also has that woman also had several miscarriages. That's why some people say, I killed your baby in the mirror, which I never heard that part.
I have heard that part.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
And then some people even say Elizabeth Bathory, a.k.a. the Queen of Blood, we were just talking about earlier, was convicted of murdering hundreds of young girls so she could bathe in their blood, although we're not really sure why she's put in the Bloody Mary mix because her name is not Mary. But she's also somebody that they think that maybe the legend could be from. I had never heard the story about the girl being buried alive associated with Bloody Mary.
I have.
Had you?
No, I hadn't either.
So... I like that.
I feel like I kind of heard something along the lines of the Mary Tudor story.
Yes, her, yes. But like the girl that fell ill and died, I didn't hear that story. Here's another one that I remember from grade school. The Hook.
Oh, yes.
You know The Hook? This story began circulating in the 1950s. Like the others, it has many variations. A young couple go to Lover's Lane. While they're there, they hear a radio report of a murderer who escaped from a nearby asylum. The newscaster warns that everyone should be on the lookout for this dangerous man who has a hook in the place of his right hand. The girl becomes scared when she hears a scratching sound coming from the outside of the car. Her date insists everything is fine and wants to continue to make out. Of course, he does, right? The girl resists and the boy gives up and drives her home. When the girl gets out of the car, she starts screaming. Her date exits the car and sees a bloody detached hook embedded in the roof of the car. They realize the hook man would have scratched into the interior of the car had they stayed at Lover's Lane any longer. Another variation is that the boy gets out of the car when he hears the noise.
This is the one I've heard.
Me too. The girl, too scared to get out of the car, stays there all night. When she is rescued in the morning, she sees her dead boyfriend hanging upside down from a tree. It was his fingernails scratching the roof of the car.
Oh, see, this isn't the one I've heard.
No.
The one I've heard, it was the hook, but they both died.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, in the first one, wouldn't they, see the dude go flying if his hook was still in the car?
You would think.
Okay.
You would think.
Again, urban legend.
Yes. This legend reflects anxieties about sexual longing, violence, and the safety of young people. Many scholars believe this legend is loosely based on a string of murders that took place in Texarkana in 1946. These murders, often referred to as the Moonlight Murders, was a spree of 4 unsolved murders taking place in the late winter and spring. A serial killer attacked 8 people over a period of 10 weeks. Male-female pairs were targeted in remote locations. In these cases, a gun was used to do the killing, not a hook.
I also kind of feel like there's like a lot of variations of those, of the Lover Lane stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like it is the safety of young people, but I also feel like it is the safety of women because the man always gets out to try to save her, right? But they're young, and it's like your boyfriend can't save you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you go to a dangerous place to make out with your boyfriend, he's not going to save you.
Well, and then I think it also follows the, like, horror movie rules, if you will, my quotations, like, you know,
right.
Don't have sex or you're going to die.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be innocent. Another one is the body under the bed. You guys heard that?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
This legend dates to 1991. This tale is a discovery of a body hidden under a hotel bed or inside a box spring after guests report a foul odor. Unlike other urban legends, this one appears to have sprung from misremembering actual news items. In July 2003 in Kansas City, a man complained of a foul odor at the Capri Hotel. Management told him there was nothing they could do. He spent 3 nights in the room before checking out because he could no longer handle the stench. When the cleaning people came in on July 13th, they lifted the mattress and underneath found a man's body in the advanced stages of decomposition. On June 10th, 1999, 64-year-old Saul Hernandez was discovered at the Burgundy Motor Inn in Atlantic City, New Jersey. A couple had spent the night sleeping over Hernandez's remains, and it was their complaint to the manager about the smell that led to the discovery of the deceased man.
Ooh.
Can you imagine?
I'm sorry. If I'm smelling dead body, I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not sleeping there 3 nights.
Mm-mm.
No. So,
Mm-mm.
You wouldn't.
yeah.
In July 1996...
Just like, oh, it stinks in here. Just
I mean, I
keep
feel
going
like
on with your
death
day.
is something that...
Very distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. In July 1996, a woman's body was found under a mattress at the Travelodge in Pasadena, California. The motel staff discovered her 10 days after her death after guests complained of a bad smell coming from the room. So on that one, I don't think anyone was actually staying in the room, but nearby rooms can smell. In 1988, at a New York hotel, the body of Mary Jean de Oliveira was discovered days after her death after patrons complained of a smell. 2 guests unknowingly shared the room with the body before it was discovered. There are dozens of true accounts on this subject, and this legend is attributed to fear of mortality and anxiety and safety while traveling. However, I feel like there's a lot of truth instead of legend in this one.
Right. Well, because, I mean, hotels, there's a lot of deaths notoriously at hotels. I mean, people just have heart attacks or...
No, I don't know if this is true or not, but when you stay at a hotel nowadays, do you guys ever notice that the bottom of most hotels, like, it's like it's a solid base, right? You can't put anything under the bed or in it.
Oh, yes, I have noticed that.
Yeah.
So,
which is nice because I feel like you go to look for stuff under there, like just in case like something fell under there.
Yes, exactly. Or in case there's a body under there. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, and I didn't find it when I was doing the research for this, but a long time ago, I had read something about that's why hotels changed the format of the beds. I'm sure it's probably more to do with cleaning instead of the dead
so you don't find dead bodies in your bed. Yeah.
I mean, but it would probably be
a lot of
easier
stuff.
For the maids and stuff to clean.
Dead bodies, dead mice.
You guys ever received a chain letter or email?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I blocked my sister at one point.
Oh, your
she
sister.
wouldn't quit sending them to me.
Oh.
I told her I did it.
You told her you
I said to
it,
stop sending me
her?
stuff or I'm going to block you. And she sent me another chain letter and I blocked her. You know what I mean?
I have never once forwarded a chain letter to anybody.
No, me either.
I just thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
So usually a chain letter starts like this. Send this to 10 people or your worst day starts now. Or send this to 10 of your friends within 24 hours and you will receive $1,000. Or this one, which is more elaborate. This prayer has been sent to you for good luck. The original copy came from the Netherlands. It has been around the world 9 times. The luck has been sent to you. You are to receive good luck within 9 days of receiving this letter. It is no joke. You will receive it in the mail. Send 20 copies of this letter to people you think need good luck. A man named Zoran Barachili, did not say that right, received this chain. Not believing it, he threw it away. 9 days later, he died. For no reason whatsoever, this chain should not be broken. So unlike poor Zoran, the chain letter lives on.
Wait, so was that a real story? Like that, like he really died and people thought it was because of that? I think
it's just part of the story. Like they're telling you, like
this is the urban legend.
Zoran,
okay.
Do all this because a man named Zoran received it and he didn't forward it, so he died.
Okay.
If that sounds familiar, it is thanks to generations of emails and copying. The real letter was not sent from the Netherlands. It began in Chicago. In the 1930s, the infamous Send a Dime chain letter originated in Denver, Colorado, and swept across the U.S., specifically in the American West. It promised a large sum of money to the names of the people that reached the top of the list. The letter included a list of names and addresses of the participants that were asked to send a dime to the person on top of the list. They would remove that name and add their name to the bottom and send copies to 5 other people. The claim was that if the chain was unbroken, the recipient would receive around $1,500 when their name reached the top of the list. This scheme is based on incorrect mathematical models that assumes everyone will participate, which is not likely. This scheme swamped the Denver post office with hundreds of thousands of letters before spilling into other cities. In 1964, the head of the U.S. Postal Inspection Service ordered a crackdown on violations of postal fraud and lottery laws. Chain letters are connected to cultural superstitions and hoaxes in both pre- and post-internet times. They contain common topics relating to protection, religion, luck, humor, charity, and scams.
Because, I mean, you see them all the time on Facebook now.
Well, I feel like they're just like memes now. Like, right, forward this. Mm-hmm. They started out written, like to your point, they started out written or on paper, and now they're sent via social media, like you just said.
Copy and paste this to your wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you don't paste this, you don't care about people with cancer.
Yeah, please send this to, everybody in your distribution so that,
Mm-hmm. They compare chain letters as the earliest forms of a meme, which is what we were just talking about. They compel a person to pass it on by eliciting an emotional response. There is a threat, promise of good fortune, or ill will, depending on how you respond. I have never responded, and I feel like I don't have any of those bad things happen.
Yep, me either.
What about organ theft? You guys heard that?
Wake up in a tub of ice with your kidney missing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. This one gained popularity in the 1990s. Unlike other urban legends where the female is the victim, in this one it's usually a male that is lured by a female. Normally the female promises sex and in some versions is a prostitute, and there is always great care to save the man's life. A man wakes up in a bathtub full of ice. He's groggy. He looks down to see a message written on his chest. It says, "Call 911 or you will die." He later finds out that one of his kidneys was stolen for sale on the black market. Another variation is a man went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. He met a girl at a bar and invited her back to his hotel. He suspects she put something in his drink because he woke up the next morning in a tub full of ice with a note next to him telling him to call an ambulance right away. Although there are no confirmed stories of people waking up in the bathtub with a missing kidney, organ trafficking happens around the world and is a $1.7 billion industry.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Sometimes an organ transplant is the only way to keep a patient alive. The search for a compatible donor begins. It's legally obtained through living donors or organ donation from a deceased person. However, the need for organs is larger than the supply. According to the Global Observatory on Donation and Transplantation in 2020, more than 150,000 transplants are performed annually worldwide. Unfortunately, this is only 10% of the global need.
Wow.
Some patients and their families are willing to break the law, even if it involves harming vulnerable people. There are two types of organ removal crimes. Organ trafficking is when a person sells an organ for profit. Trafficking persons for organ removal is when a vulnerable person is exploited, deceived, abused, etc. for the illicit use of their organ. The possible origin of this story may be inspired by the news story about a Turkish man who claimed his kidney was stolen while he was in the hospital. It was later revealed that he had sold his kidney but was unhappy with the payment, so he sold it himself. The legend serves as a cautionary tale against the excess of alcohol, sex with strangers, and letting your guard down because you are horny.
Oh.
Cropsy. Have you guys heard of that?
I know I have.
I've heard
I've
of it,
heard
but
the name, but
yeah.
I didn't recognize the story until I really got into it. In the 1970s, cropsy has terrified generations of New Yorkers. The specifics of what caused cropsy to go mad are varied, but most agree it began with a family tragedy. A father loses his whole family, or in some versions, one child, on the shores of Marston Lake. The family was staying in a small cottage near a summer camp. After the death of his family or child, George Cropsey goes insane. The reason for the death is blamed on a camper or camp counselor that was irresponsible and caused a fire. Cropsey is MIA for several weeks, but returns at the end of the summer to get revenge on the campers. There are reports of hurt, threatened, or even murdered campers. Cropsey never gets caught and has never been seen again, but to this day, campers claim to hear strange voices, see threatening symbols, and some even claim to see Cropsey himself. This legend was told around campfires for years. Another variation is that Cropsey was a patient at Willowbrook Mental Institution on Staten Island who escaped after the hospital closed down. He lived in the woods and would carry an axe, waiting to snatch up children. Some believe the origin of the story is a man named Andre Rand. He was an orderly at the Willowbrook Institution. It is said that in 1966 he quit his job at Willowbrook, but did not leave the grounds. He set up a campsite there, and soon former patients and homeless people resided there with him. He was a kidnapper and child murderer in the 1980s. No one could pin anything on him at the time, but he was often the last adult to be seen with a missing child. That changed in 1987 when 12-year-old Jennifer Schwager, a child with Down syndrome, went missing and was found in a shallow grave on the Willowbrook grounds. Rand was charged with her murder. The jury was not able to convict him with murder due to lack of physical evidence, so he was only convicted for the kidnapping and he was sentenced to prison. He's also associated with the disappearance of a 5-year-old girl named Alice Pereira, 7-year-old Holly Ann Hughes, 11-year-old Tyhees Jackson, and 21-year-old Hank Gaffario. The new updated version of Cropsey is Slender Man today. The first part of the story about the counselors made me think of Friday the 13th.
I was going to say that too, like all those movies.
Yeah, it made me think of that. And then the part about being the molester and murderer, kidnapper, it made me think of Freddy Krueger.
Yep.
But that's the only ones I did. I could have went on and on and on. There's so many urban legends. But they are an important part of pop culture. They offer insight to our fears and the states of society, and finding out the truth behind them isn't as important as the lessons they teach us. As the internet became more popular, urban legends gained new life. They can be passed on via email, verified on websites like Snopes.com, and they remind us that society is connected through folklore, communication, and shared history. And that is all I've got. But I find it interesting that it seems like a lot of stories change with society, right?
Yes. I have an urban legend I would like to add.
Yes.
You have any guesses? No, you have no idea? Okay. There's a road between 28th Avenue and M40 and 9th Street. This is in Michigan.
I know what it is.
You know what? I'm not exactly even sure the town anymore. But in the 1980s, a man built a fallout shelter under his home. His paranoia was getting bad, and eventually he took his family down there to live. At some point, he just went nuts and killed his entire family with a hatchet. And that is how this road got its nickname, Hatchet Man Road. Once, me and Mandi drove about 3 hours on a Friday night for no reason to just go drive down Hatchet Man Road. We visited a few cemeteries along the way, and it was creepy. I mean, it was dark when we got there. If you look it up, I mean, there's videos of a lot of people driving down Hatchet Man Road. One time, somebody was driving down Hatchet Man Road, and there was like 3 clowns standing on the side of the road.
That would have scared me.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't see clowns. Nothing so interesting happened to us. But it was freaky. Like, it is a long just stretch of basically nothing road in the country, right? And I do have some audio, a little bit from our drive. We were actually going to do a podcast on this a long time ago. But unfortunately, because even though there was nothing to be scared of, we did get freaked out. I dropped my audio recorder like halfway through. But I'm going to play a little bit of audio.
I have not heard
for
this
you
since
guys.
that night. I don't even remember what we said. How embarrassing. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So anyway, this is a little bit of me and Mandi driving down Hatchet Man Road. Mandi and I are on our way to Hatchet Man Road. And I have my digital audio recorder here. So we're just going to record live. It's a road trip. Hatchet Man Road is a stretch of 28th Avenue between M40 and 9th Street. It's south of Gobles, and it's near Kalamazoo. So this is an urban legend. We're investigating an urban legend. This section of road that is affected by the urban legend is supposedly the section that crosses over Campbell Creek. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of cities have like an urban legend near like a small bridge that crosses over a creek on a piece of desolate road, dirt road, and that's exactly where we're going. Supposedly, in 1980, a paranoid man who had built a bunker talked his family into moving into the bunker, fearing the end of the world, and ended up unfortunately murdering his entire family. Now, I did look this up and try to see if this actual legend had some truth behind it, and I personally couldn't find any history that points to this being true. I didn't see anything about a man murdering his family in the 1980s, and I did look through like murders in Michigan by date. So, I mean, the date could be off, or, I mean, there could still be truth behind it. We don't know. But I suppose probably people would know the location of this bunker, but I don't know. I mean, it's underground, right?
Well, I think bunkers are meant to be hidden, so...
I mean, and grass would have grown over it, so, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day they'll be excavating part of this area and hit a bunker. The urban legend says that you can see the Hatchet Man's spirit along with his kids' ghosts and his wife's ghost in the woods. People say that if you drive there at night, you can see the white face of a little girl up in the trees. Super creepy.
Why do you think her face is up in the trees?
Your guess is as good as mine. It's a mystery. Okay,
In half a mile, take exit 38B for Michigan 43 West towards South Haven.
Next exit. Oh my god, maybe all these other people are going to
Take
Hatchet
exit
Man Road
38B,
too.
then merge onto Michigan 43.
What if we looked in their cars and they were clowns?
Oh my goodness. I'm not scared of actual clowns like people get, but like if people are dressed up on the side of the road as clowns, I'm gonna piss myself.
I mean, I don't really like actual clowns, but an actual clown in a clown setting, a circus, a party, it's not gonna really scare me. But a clown where there's not supposed to be a clown, like you just said.
I mean, and really anyone dressed up in a costume where you can't identify their face, like on the
Continue
side of the
Michigan
road.
43 for 5
Well,
miles.
I think there's something creepy about seeing something out of its normal environment or where you would expect to see it. Did you ever hear the thing, like, everybody loves the sound of a laughing baby, except for if you don't have a baby and it's 3 a.m.
Oh, right.
Right?
Right. Or like, yeah, if you're in like a basement of a kidnapper, or like, right, and you hear like a crying baby, just everything's silent, and you're chained up somewhere, and there's a crying baby that's gonna be.
Did I say crying?
Scary.
I meant laughing. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Because, like, people like
you said laughing, I said crying.
Oh, okay. And then, like, another one was, it said something like, people think clowns are funny, you know, blah, blah, blah. But imagine, like, if one knocked at your door, like, in the middle of the night. That would
Yeah,
be
that
scary.
would be terrifying. And if we saw a clown on the side of the road in the dark, 7 minutes.
Dun, dun, dun.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto 22nd Street, North Van Cal Street. Turn left.
Yeah, this is it.
I feel like it's so dark, like, I can't see when I'm turning. What
So
the fuck
here-
is that? Raccoon? Did you see it?
Yes, I saw it. So here we are driving down Hatchet Man Road.
So this is actually the road?
Yes.
Okay, it's dark.
It
Why
is-
can't my brights go on there?
It is dark. It is.
Like, they used to automatically just come on. Okay.
Earlier tonight they were automatically coming on.
I know.
But if your brights are on, will we see the girl in the trees? I feel like we need to go slow and look in the trees. I have my camera on low, so we're not to the point where we're going over the creek yet, though. No clowns yet.
You know what my grandpa used to do when we would go on roads like this?
What?
He'd do this.
Oh my god, stop it, Mandy.
It's so dark, isn't it?
It is so dark.
But it would give us, like, this sense of, like, how much in the woods we really were, you know? And how dark it was.
Right, like if our car failed, I do have flashlights, though.
Like, realistically, it seems like we're, because there's no houses or anything right here, but, like, at the end of the road, like, there, you know what I mean? But would anybody hear a scream right here?
I don't think they would.
You know what's funny is, like, you know what my grandpa used to do? Like, that was the fun game. Let's go driving around at night. But you know what? We did that. We would do stuff like that. That's why I like doing shit like this, I think.
Oh, maybe.
There's a baby. Did you get him? He's so cute.
Don't know. Because I tried to turn off the GPS and I can't because I'm recording. So, like, this is, like, the spot right here.
So this is the bridge. This is the creek.
You have arrived.
That must be the parking area.
Oh.
It's not a very good parking area.
No. Are you scared?
Not as long as you're looking in the rearview mirror, making sure nobody pulls up behind us.
I'm, like, afraid to stop. Only I'm afraid of the clowns, not a ghost. Like, where is there a house? Like,
I have no idea. But I do know a lot of this is marshy, which you can definitely tell.
you can.
Which is why, like, you know, I watched a video earlier with a guy saying, like, it would be impossible to put a bunker on this land because it is so marshy.
What should we do?
Don't see anything up in the trees. Why can't I see out my window?
It's dark. I don't know. I don't see anything.
It's like foggy. We must be like breathing heavy.
Oh my god. Do you feel scared? I feel scared.
I feel unsettled.
I do. I feel unsettled too. That's the word. And I mean, we could just be like freaking ourselves out. Like, I honestly don't feel comfortable just stopping and sitting in the car. I don't know if you do, if you want.
I don't.
Okay, because I will if you want me to, but there's something that makes me not feel comfortable. I mean, I would be happy to see a ghost from the car, but not a fucking clown.
Because the thing is that it's so dark here that anybody could walk up on you and you would have no idea.
You would not have any idea. But, like, say that there were 3 clowns and they just, like, stood in the road. Like, what would I do? I can't go off the side. It's like I would get stuck. It's too marshy and there's trees. Would I run them over? And then what if it's just people fucking around?
This is a long stretch of dirt road.
It is a long stretch of dirt road, no light. There are no houses, no lights, no, like, electrical lines that you see, no mailboxes, nothing. We've seen 2 raccoons. Okay, which way do I go? Do I keep going straight?
I think we turn around and
Go
back.
And go through it again? Why can't I
roll down my
see?
window because... Wow.
It's fucking dark, Melissa. Dark.
I don't know if I can see it on the video, but the lightning bugs are insane.
So what is that white, that reflector thing? Do you see it?
That is a good question because I didn't see anything that should be reflecting. Also, something running out in the road.
This is still the raccoon.
This is a very freaky stretch of road. Like, I can see why people made an urban legend here.
Oh, maybe this is a reflector on the bridge?
Oh, that makes sense.
No, it's not the bridge. Is it? No.
Definitely a reflector.
I don't really like the car behind us. I mean, it's...
Is it on this part of the road? I think it might be across. Oh, it's because it's deep right there.
Look behind us.
The car lights are there again.
Mm-hmm. They disappeared.
Put this in the rearview mirror.
And then they came back. Now, maybe the road's curving and, like, you know what I mean? We lost sight of it.
Now, that is something... Now they're gone again. That is something that people would say, though, is that the car lights...
Right, and now
in
the mirror, I see them. Like, they're coming. Do you see?
Oh my god, I do see. Like, who is coming down here?
I don't know, but I'm gonna, like, pep it on my step just a little bit so I can get back to the main road.
It's probably the guy who owns the land near here.
Yeah. I do feel like if he was trying to be threatening, he might, like, get closer to us. You know what I mean? I feel like they're not, like... But it is weird. I mean...
I don't see the lights. Is he still there?
Yeah. You I can see it, like, there. I think, okay, so I feel like it looks like it disappears when the road curves, right?
Right, that makes sense.
So here is the bridge. This is the haunted. No, this is not the bridge. The bridge is right here. Here's the bridge.
Right, so this is like the area of road, like not just the bridge, but like this is like the area of road that is supposedly...
Right, and now like you see the lights again. So they do appear to go off and on. But like when I'm looking in the rear view mirror, I can, even when I'm not actually seeing the two headlights, I can see light. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Baby raccoons everywhere.
The big one was down here when we first turned, so look out for it. I do feel like this is a pretty long stretch of Preview Road, though.
It definitely is. I don't see the headlights behind us anymore. Like, where did they go? Like, I mean, I haven't seen them behind us in a minute.
You are right. Holy shit. Unless they're weirdos too and they parked on the bridge.
Right. And that would be, like, a thing. Right? Like, I wonder how many people visit this stretch of road and people say, like, the headlights appear and disappear.
Because we're all trying to hide from each other.
Right, because we're creeped out on this creepy stretch of road. So are we leaving?
I mean, what are we gonna do?
We could just drive down it one more time. I mean, we came all this way. You want to go one more time?
Do you?
Why not?
Okay.
There's a car up there, but maybe we can see where it went. But it's a public road, right?
It is
like, why are we afraid of the car?
I don't know, because it could be full of clowns. Where do I turn around? You know, a couple of things that I do remember about that, we seen raccoons.
The raccoons. And then when we were just talking about that the other day, the lights, I say the other day, this was probably a couple episodes ago, right? When you shine a light. And I literally thought of Hatchetman Road when you said that, because the raccoons.
And the other thing, do you remember how foggy the windows got?
Yes. Yeah, we drove down the road and we turned around and drove back down the road.
A few times.
A couple times. And the windows really fogged up. Like, we're trying to, like, see. And, like, because you don't expect that after you've been in the car for 3 hours.
Right, like, why is it just now fogging up? It's probably because we were heavy breathing. We were scared.
Yes, I remember there was like a point, like Mandy was like, why is there a car behind me? Why is there a car behind me? I was like, cars are allowed to drive here though.
No, because one of the stories was the people that own the property.
They would chase you.
They would chase you with like this big truck if you came down the road, and then there was I couldn't tell what kind of vehicle it was. It was far behind, but I see lights. I'm like, oh my god. One of
the things too about the road is supposedly like you'll see like headlights behind you and they'll disappear. Mm-hmm. But the road does curve a bit and there's a lot of trees on either side.
So we did debunk that.
We debunked that. Like as we were driving through, we could tell that the headlights were just behind the trees and they were disappearing. Mm-hmm. But it was a fun day, even though it was just a stupid trip to Hatchetman Road.
Sometimes you just gotta do a road trip.
So, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Paranormal Experience with Melissa, Mandy, and Kelly, a dark and ominous entertainment production. If you like our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and review. The research that is not conducted by us in person during our investigations is conducted to the best of our ability via the internet. If you feel that we have incorrectly represented something, please let us know by emailing paranormalexperiencepod, all one word, @gmail.com. Please send us your positive comments as well. We love to hear from you. You can find our references and our music credit in our show notes. We couldn't continue to do this without the support of our fans, and to each and every one of you, I would like to say thanks for listening.